To be honest, I struggled a little bit with this morning's sermon as we finish out our sermon series on the Acts of the Apostles, in part because while the sermon title was the ultimate surprise party, I just couldn't help but think that the surprise had already been ruined. After all, the entire sermon series has been focused on the events that happened after the Pentecost story of Acts chapter 2, after the Spirit had already been on the people, after the people were already getting to work building the church. So at this point, after 7 weeks, what else is there to even say? But our God is a God of surprises. And this morning, we took a look at some of the surprises from chapter 2, the famous Pentecost story. The most obvious surprise, of course, is the sound of rushing wind and the sight of what appears to be a flame. Also surprising is that the people who gathered together are suddenly speaking in lots of languages, and not only speaking, but being understood. And that, by the way, is an important component that we sometimes overlook. Now, people are hearing the good news in their own native language. The Spirit is meeting them right where they are. The Spirit doesn't require that they shed their language or their culture or their story or their identity. Pentecost is a story that affirms not only unity, but also in a really big way affirms identity as a gift. But the biggest surprise is what comes after Pentecost, and that's the subject of this entire sermon series. The biggest surprise is how the early church was emboldened and found the courage to leave the refuge of upper rooms and locked doors to go out into the world and get to work in the ministries for which God had created them and to which Christ had called them, and to which the Spirit on Pentecost gave inspiration and energy. And that story, the Pentecost story, continues today. The Spirit is poured out upon us, all of us, and calls us to get to work. So let's not live our lives as if that calling is somehow a surprise to us. Happy Pentecost, everybody.